This year marks the 100th anniversary of Central Library downtown. A special exhibit here in the Nina Mason Pulliam Indianapolis Special Collections Room will commemorate this milestone throughout the year. It's called A Piece of Classical Architecture, the Building of Central Library. Chris Marshall of the ISCR is with us to talk about this special exhibit. Chris, what will people see in A Piece of Classical Architecture?
Well, you're going to get to see a lot of the original documents, some photographs of the construction of Central Library, some of the original plans, information about the competition that they had. So just a variety of things that will cover the time period of 1911 to 1917 when the building actually opened, October of 1917 that year.
So it took a while with the process beginning at around 1911. Let's talk about some of the personalities involved, leading off first and foremost with the architect, Paul Cray.
Paul Cray was selected from a group of 3 architects, 2 New York architectural firms, and then Paul Cray of Philadelphia. They liked his plans the most, so they selected him. He is actually French. He decided to take a vacation back to France just as World War I broke out, so he got stuck in France and was called up to serve in the French army. So he was not actually here for the construction, and rumors are that they sent architectural plans to him to the front, and then he had to, correct or whatever and make changes and suggestions, and they would send them back. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know.
What a great story, though. You could imagine him being in the trenches of World War I reviewing architectural plans for Central Library. Another personality, really the person who had the vision of Central Library, the director at the time, Elijah Browning.
Elijah Browning is credited with a lot of things for the library, building the branches, but one of the things she knew, the library that was down off of Meridian in Ohio, which now there's a hotel that stands there, there was a building there. That was the original public library. It was right off the circle. She knew early on that building was not big enough, and she knew that they were going to need to do something. So she pushed the school board to build a new building. So when they were looking around trying to figure out what they wanted to do, they were wanting to create a central mall downtown with the post office on one end, which is now the federal courts building, and they wanted something that mirrored that building, and that's where the Central Library came into play.
Okay. Another personality that everybody has heard of, James Whitcomb Riley. Talk about the role he played in the building of Central Library.
Riley purchased some properties along Pennsylvania and donated them to the school board. Now, they had already started acquiring some of the property in this area, but he actually helped push it even more by donating 3 parcels of land, and then it was just went on from there. So that's why if you're familiar with the old Central Library, the setup where the Riley Room was off of Pennsylvania, that's why it was called the Riley Room. And the penny gates are there, the ones that the kids collected pennies to build or to construct gates to put on those doors. Those are the penny gates. Those were in honor of Riley as well. So.
About $800 worth of pennies
yes.
dedicated for that. Again, we're speaking with Chris Marshall here in the Indianapolis Special Collections Room about the year-long exhibit, A Piece of Classical Architecture, the Building of Central Library. Chris, there's a great photo that adorns some of the walls at different libraries of the laying of the cornerstone back in 1916. We're hoping for a similar event as we celebrate Central Library in October. But as you look around at the current features of Central Library, what are some of your favorites?
I like the head that is at the top of some of the bookcases. There is a great debate as to whether it's an Egyptian head or a Native American head. So in our exhibit we have just basically a question, do you see an Egyptian head or a Native American head? I also just enjoy some of the carvings around the fireplaces, but I think probably part of my favorite is really the ceiling.
The mural in the Simon Room.
Yeah.
That's right. We do want to mention that as far as the architectural plans, if people have an inclination to see what those designs were, they can do so online and here in the exhibit, correct?
Yes, we do have them digitized on our website, but you can also see some of the originals. We have 6 of the originals out in the Cray building itself, so you can go in and actually take a look at them. They're rather detailed and rather gorgeous. They were all done by hand.
And the exhibit continues throughout the entire year, come one, come all, correct?
Yes.
Chris Marshall, thank you for your time. Best of luck to you in the future. And we encourage you to visit the Central Library, the Nina Mason Pulliam Indianapolis Special Collections Room, to view the exhibit, A Piece of Classical Architecture, the Building of Central Library.